A winter wind swept across the hills like a whispered warning, as though the season itself knew something extraordinary was about to unfold. In the small New Hampshire town tucked beneath snow-covered ridges, a story quietly stirred one born from sorrow, hope, and a letter written by hands far too small to carry so much longing. 6-year-old Mira Whitlow sat cross-legged on a frayed carpet in the cramped apartment above a laundromat. Her golden curls bounced while she gripped a fading red crayon, forming oversized letters across the page. She had overheard that the most powerful people, those who made real things happen, worked in corner offices. So she addressed her letter with unwavering faith. Dear Santa at the corner office. Her mother, Alina Whitlow, quietly worked in the tiny kitchen, the sleeves of her bakery uniform dusted with flour. Though she hummed, exhaustion threaded through her voice. The radiator had failed again, and a weak space heater struggled to fight the cold. Bills, rent, heating oil, eviction warnings lay untouched on the table. When Alina asked who Mira was writing to, the child lifted bright eyes and answered with a confidence that made the room feel warmer. Santa at the corner office. Not the North Pole one. The one who knows things. That night, Mira folded the letter carefully and dropped it into a green mailbox meant for company mail only. Not far away. In the elegant offices of Calderon Properties, the building hummed with holiday energy. Employees hurried through decorated halls, while the top-floor corner office belonged to Rowan Calderon, a widowed CEO who had stopped noticing Christmas at all. Rowan, 42, carried the quiet gravity of someone who had lost too much 3 years since his wife, Isabel, had died during their preparation to adopt a golden-haired girl who never came home. He kept her half-knitted sweater folded in a drawer he could never bring himself to open. During a finance meeting, a stack of misdirected mail was handed to him. One envelope, small, handwritten, trembling, made him pause. Mira's letter. Her words asking not for toys, but for warmth. For a home where her mother no longer cried, cut through the guarded walls he had lived behind for years. He read the letter again and again, until grief and something gentler collided within him. For the first time since Isabel's passing, tears broke free. The next morning, Rowan arrived early carrying only the letter. His assistant, Maris, watched with surprise as he asked her to track down the family from the faint return address scribbled in pencil. By afternoon she returned with the answer. Alina Whitlow, Unit 4B, night shift baker, single mother to 6-year-old Mira. Rowan didn't wait. That evening, Alina opened her apartment door to find him standing there. December wind caught on his coat. When he showed Mira the letter, her face lit with awe. You're him, she whispered. Santa at the corner office. Rowan knelt to greet her, and Alina, wary but softened, invited him inside. When the child's curls caught the sunlight, Rowan's breath stilled. She resembled the girl he and Isabel had almost adopted. Not a replacement, never that. Simply an echo of a life interrupted. He could not ignore the call of fate. Days later, Rowan offered Alina and Mira a stay at the guest cottage behind his estate, a warm haven beneath tall pines, far from broken heaters and looming eviction notices. Alina agreed on one firm condition. She would work, not be a guest. Rowan accepted without hesitation. Life in the cottage shifted something in all three. Alina filled the kitchen with quiet strength, her humming easing the spaces untouched since Isabel's death. Mira clung to Rowan with effortless trust, helping him finish a wooden ship he had once abandoned. Through snowstorms and soft evenings by the fire, warmth returned to a house that had forgotten the shape of laughter. One night, Rowan secretly visited the Whitlows' old apartment. By morning, unpaid bills were gone, quietly settled, anonymously erased. Under Mira's pillow, he left a small card. Santa always hears the truest wishes. Alina found it later and said nothing. Though gratitude flickered behind her guarded gaze, a blizzard soon knocked out power across town. By candlelight, They shared cocoa and biscuits warmed over the fire. Elena spoke of her dream, a small bakery with a yellow awning, and Rowan saw something luminous in her, a strength tempered by tenderness, but doubt crept in. A warning message from an old co-worker made Elena fear Rowan's generosity had hidden motives. She withdrew, spoke less, smiled less. Rowan felt the distance like a cold wind through a cracked door. One night, determined to leave, Elena packed a duffel bag. When Mira discovered her, frightened and confused, Elena whispered that the life in the cottage wasn't meant for them. Her words trembled, betraying the truth. She didn't entirely believe them herself. Rowan found them before dawn. He didn't plead. Instead, he asked Elena to come with him, to one place he had avoided for 3 years. They drove to the small cemetery near the woods. Rowan carried a bouquet to Isabel's grave. Under falling snow, he spoke softly about the woman he had loved. The daughter they almost brought home, the sweater left unfinished. Then he turned to Elena. He told her she had brought warmth back into rooms long silent, that her simple acts of kindness had woken the part of him he thought had died with Isabel. He told her he had fallen in love quietly, unexpectedly, completely. Elena, trembling, placed his hand over her heart and whispered that she was afraid too. But her heart was beating for him. A breath of winter air settled around them. But something far brighter bloomed between their joined hands. The world seemed to shift. Their story, once marked by grief, had begun to open toward hope. Snowfall continued to dust the cemetery grounds as Rowan and Elena stood together, their hands clasped in a fragile but growing promise. When they returned to the cottage, Mira ran out to greet them, unaware of how deeply the morning had changed the adults she adored. The child simply sensed a warmth, a gentleness woven into the air, as if something heavy had been lifted from their home. Over the next several days, the rhythm of life subtly shifted. Rowan found himself finishing early at the Calderon Properties office, just to return in time for dinner. Elena cooked meals that filled the house with familiar scents: roasted herbs, warm bread, soft citrus, pulling Rowan back into a world he had nearly forgotten how to inhabit. Myra's laughter echoed through halls that had long held silence, and Rowan often paused just to listen, as though memorizing every sound. Yet the tenderness growing between him and Elena carried a fragile uncertainty. Rowan hesitated, still weighed by the memory of Isabel, uncertain how to step fully into a future that didn't erase the past. Elena, too, wrestled with doubt. She worried that his kindness might come from grief rather than genuine affection. And she feared offering her heart only to lose the fragile stability she had finally found. Their hesitations might have grown into distance. But Mira, unaware of adult complexities, pulled them back together in small but powerful ways. One evening, she proudly presented a picture she had drawn, the 3 of them standing beneath falling snow, holding hands beside a house with glowing windows. Elena felt her breath catch as she studied it, and Rowan's eyes softened with unmistakable emotion. Though no words passed between them, the drawing rested like a quiet promise on the kitchen table. The town soon prepared for its annual Winter Lights Festival, an event Rowan had avoided since Isabel's passing. When Mira begged him to attend the fair with her and her mother, he agreed, surprising not only Elena but himself. The festival stirred memories, both sharp and sweet, but as Rowan walked between booths with Elena at his side and Mira tugging his coat, a newfound warmth settled over him. For the first time in years, the lights didn't feel like echoes of loss, but markers of something reborn. Halfway through the festival, an elderly vendor recognized Elena from the bakery where she worked night shifts. She asked softly whether Elena was doing better, whether things had finally turned around for her and her little girl. Elena nodded, and though she said nothing more, the vendor smiled knowingly, placing a small gingerbread cookie in Myra's mittened hand. As they continued walking, Rowan noticed Elena's eyes glistening. He slowed beside her, and she admitted in a trembling whisper that she hadn't realized how much the world had seen her struggle. Rowan gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and told her she would never have to face such burdens alone again, not if she would allow him to stand beside her. A soft hush fell between them, not heavy but full of meaning. That night, back at the cottage, Rowan retrieved a small box from a drawer. Inside lay the half-knitted sweater Isabel had started for the daughter they never met. Rowan told Elena he no longer wanted it to remain unfinished in the dark. He asked if she would help him complete it. Tears filled Elena's eyes as she accepted the yarn and needles, understanding the depth of what he was offering Dot as she worked beside him in the gentle glow of the fireplace. A quiet reawakening rose between them, something more powerful than words. Something stitched together from shared pain and newfound hope. Mira fell asleep curled against Rowan's side, and Elena realized she had never seen him look so peaceful. Still, fate had one more turn to reveal. A week later, Rowan invited Elena and Mira to the company's annual holiday gathering. Mira charmed every person she met, darting between decorated trees and trays of cookies, while Elena moved with a grace that drew admiring glances. Rowan watched them both with a mixture of pride and disbelief that the quiet apartment above a laundromat had led them here. During the event, Morris, the loyal assistant who had first helped track down Myra's letter, pulled Rowan aside. She shared that a competitor had spread rumors claiming Rowan was involved in questionable personal dealings, attempting to undermine his standing with the board. At first, Rowan dismissed the concerns, but when Elena overheard a fragment of the conversation, a sharp anxiety seized her. She feared she had become a burden, a source of complication in his already difficult life. That night, she retreated again into uncertainty. Rowan sensed the shift and confronted it gently. He told her that the obstacles he faced were part of his world long before she arrived, and nothing about her presence brought trouble, only clarity. He insisted that the people who mattered respected him not for perfection, but for the choices he made with integrity. Slowly, Elena let the worry loosen its grip. The days leading to Christmas passed in a quiet, glowing cadence. Rowan surprised Elena by converting a small unused space on his estate into a makeshift bakery for her to practice her craft. Elena baked late into evenings, filling the cottage with scents that Mira described as magic in the air. Rowan often stood in the doorway watching her, his heart stirring in a steady, unmistakable rhythm. Finally, on Christmas Eve, Rowan invited them both to the main house for a private dinner. Snow drifted past the windows, settling softly on the evergreens outside. After they ate, Mira insisted they each place a wish into the fire, an old tradition she had learned from Elena. Mira wished aloud for the three of them to stay together forever. Elena whispered her wish silently and pressed it into the flame. Rowan waited until the embers glowed, then spoke his wish clearly, his voice steady with conviction. He wished for a life built not from what he had lost, but from what he had found: Elena and Mira standing before him. The family he never expected, but now could not imagine living without. Then he reached into his coat and brought out a small velvet box. Within it, a simple ring gleamed in the firelight. Rowan knelt, not with ceremonial grandeur, but with sincere humility. He told Elena that she had brought light back into his world, that Mira had awakened a tenderness he believed was gone forever, and that he wished to build a home with them, one shaped by love rather than lingering sorrow. Elena covered her mouth, tears spilling freely, and whispered yes before he could finish the final sentence. Mira squealed with happiness, throwing her arms around them, both. The cottage filled with warmth brighter than any fire. Outside, snow continued to fall, as though blessing the moment with a quiet, shimmering grace. In the months that followed, Elena opened her dream bakery, the Golden Hearth, with Rowan's support and Mira's enthusiastic help. The little shop quickly became a cherished part of the town, its glow visible from the street, even on the coldest nights. And though life brought its ordinary challenges, the three of them faced each day together, bound not by chance, but by the letter of a child written with nothing more than hope and a red crayon. The season that had once held their greatest sorrows had become the beginning of their greatest joy.